Hey y'all, this is Sarah with Tenderfoot Village, and in this tutorial I want to show you how to make this cute little graduation gnome. Be sure and check the description box for a detailed supply list of the materials I used in this video. The first thing you're going to need is a 7-inch section of pool noodle. I get these at the Dollar Tree and then just cut down the sections into the size that I need. You're also going to need half of one foam ball, like a styrofoam ball, and I just cut it in half with a serrated knife. The blade works the best. It's the same knife that I used to cut the pool noodle. And if you'll notice that the half of the styrofoam ball is too large, so now I'm going to roll it on my surface and press kind of hard to kind of make it a little tighter packed, if you will, and I'm going to keep doing this until it lines up with the width of the pool noodle. Once you've completed this step, you're going to set that foam ball aside to be used later. Next, grab your felt sheet and your pool noodle and begin gluing them together starting at one end. And you'll notice I have some overhang on either end. That is important to have. Also, I'm using a low temp glue gun, which is very effective on the foam of the pool noodle. It does a really great job of gluing it together without melting the foam. Now you'll cut off your excess and set it aside to use later. Next, choose an end and begin cutting around in order to create kind of a clean edge. It doesn't matter which end you choose, you just pick one and start snipping. The important thing is that you don't cover the hole in the center. We're going to need to apply weight to that here shortly. Now you'll want to glue down your tabs that you created, just securing them onto that foam. And again, I would use a low temp glue gun for this part. It just helps glue it down without melting the foam roller. For this next part, I'm going to be using hex nuts. The size I'll include a picture of. They fit perfectly well inside the hole of the pool noodle. I'm using 2 of these to create a good amount of bottom weight so that he's not top heavy when you add the graduation hat at the end. But you can use whatever you like. You don't have to go out and buy these nuts. You can actually fill it with whatever you have on hand. Unfortunately, I tried applying the first one while my glue was still wet on the other side, so I'm having to go through the top now and push the second one down. But if you wait long enough, you won't have to do that. Now grab that half of the foam ball that you shaped, and we're going to glue it to the other side opposite of where we added the weights. And I'm just kind of tucking it in right now to ensure that it gets in there really good. And I'm going to pull up those felt sides all around it, and then I'm going to glue those to the foam ball just to really secure it into the space. This next part at this point would be the perfect time to add your legs if you'd like. I'm not doing legs in this particular video, but you can watch one of my other ones to see how that's done. Otherwise, you'll do what I'm doing and grab the piece of spare felt material that we had left over, and I'm just cutting a circular shape. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm just cutting it around, and then once that's done, I'm going to glue it down, and then I'll trim off any excess overhang. Now it's time to glue on your nose and beard. So whatever you choose, I use wood beads. I make my noses out of fleece. Also, I make the polymer clay noses now, which I'm preferring, but when I use these big wooden beads, I put hot glue in the middle and let them set up so that it has a place to hold on to and grip. So now go ahead and apply your nose of choice to your body. Grab your piece of beard material now, and you're going to want about a 4 by 6 section. So that's 4 inches across by 6 inches long. And then you're going to flip it around and you're going to want to cut a little triangular shape out of the top part of the beard. I like to use an X-Acto knife for this process because it's a cleaner cut and it doesn't puncture all the way through if I don't want it to. So here I noticed there's a very straight edge from when the people cut the materials, so I'm just giving it a little trim and making it look a little more rounded shaped. Just be careful when you do this and notice I'm cutting it straight up and down to kind of just the way that you would do hair. Once you like the look of your beard and you like where it's placed, go ahead and glue it onto your body. Next, grab your foam rollers and your fleece material that you're going to be using and just line it up. Now for this, I do it a little differently. So for this particular style of gnome, I angle the foam roller onto the fleece slightly so that it creates kind of a gown sleeve look. Now grab your gnome body and begin attaching the arms. I like to make sure that the arms are about the length of the body. So I want the bottom of the arms to be touching the base of the body to kind of meet there. And then I don't mind the overhang at the top. It actually allows for extra snug fit of the hat later. But one other thing that I also like to do is I make sure that I add them even, and I try to line them up with the very end of the beard or just under the beard. Now grab a 5.5 by 5.5 piece of cardboard. This will be the top of our hat, and you're going to want to also grab another piece of your felt material. You'll take the piece of cardboard and just lay it on top of that felt material, and then just trace around it, allowing a little bit of extra overhang. I'm not tracing, I'm just going ahead and using my X-Acto knife and cutting it away. But you definitely want that overhang. It's going to help us out later. You'll do this step twice, once for each side of the cardboard. Once you have your pieces cut out, you're going to begin gluing them down, and I am going to be using a very thin layer of hot glue. And the way that I'm doing this is I'm just laying my glue gun onto the material and sliding it back and forth, almost like a scraping, if you will, to really spread that hot glue around and get it as thin as I can. You're going to do the same for both sides. Once you've got the hot glue on and you've put the felt onto the cardboard, just kind of press it down. After you've done that, go around and kind of trim up your edges a little bit, still leaving that extra overhang, and you'll be able to feel it. You just want to cut off where you see one edge hanging over more than the other, but do not cut off down to the cardboard. Once you've done that step, you're going to go around the edges and lift up and begin applying hot glue to the very edge where the cardboard ends, and then just pressing it down really good. This will seal those edges of the felt, and this will also allow you to fix any spots where you may not have had enough hot glue in the first place. Now you're ready to create the base of the hat, and to do this you're going to grab a couple of pieces of cardstock or cardboard or toilet paper roll, and I made myself a little template by taking 2 pieces of toilet paper roll and doing these next steps. So I took the toilet paper roll and I just kind of put it around the head, and then I decided I wanted to angle it to create more of that graduation cap look. Once I got it to where I liked it, I grabbed a clothespin and just kind of held it in place so that I could add some glue, some hot glue. You'll want to set this aside for a couple minutes to let it dry, and while we're waiting for that, you can add your hands, your little beads for hands. I'm just using some wooden beads that fit the width of the foam roller that I'm using for the arms. Alright, now that our piece is dry, I am laying it out on another piece of felt and tracing it, and then I'm going to cut that out. The important thing to remember here is do not cut on the inside of the line, but rather the outside of the line for this. You want the extra material. This is where creating that little template for yourself will come in handy, especially if you're making multiples of these. It's nice to have that. So now you're just going to go ahead and glue down your cardboard or toilet paper roll onto that felt material. Make sure that if you did trace it out for yourself that you have that on the inside instead of the outside. You don't want those lines to show. Okay, so once you have it cut out and you like the way that it looks, you're going to add it back onto the top of your guy's head and just see how the fit is. And then once you do that, again, I'm using a clothespin to kind of hold it in place for me and adding hot glue to set it up, and I'll move that clothespin here in a minute and add hot glue to the other side as well. So now that we have the base made, we are going to add a little piece inside the top of it, and this is really important because it's going to allow us to glue this part to the top of the cap. You're going to want to cut these little tabs and then trim away any excess, but not too much because you need it to grip onto the sides, to the walls of the toilet paper roll. So now we are going to put it in there. We're going to use some hot glue, but this is also another important tip. When you push the piece of felt down into there, you have to be careful not to push it too quickly or you'll end up sticking it to the side before you're ready. Once you have it all the way down to the bottom, just press around the edges to make sure that it sticks to the walls. Next, grab your black felt square that you created and we're going to attach the 2 pieces together. You'll add hot glue to the center, but be careful not to try and look at everything and make sure it's perfect too early or it will fall off and you'll have to redo it. At this point, you're ready to attach your tassel or create it. I'm going to be creating mine. There are tons of YouTube tutorials out there to show you how to make a good tassel. I kind of winged it on my own and just kind of figured it out along the way. So for this, I'm using embroidery floss. You can get some craft thread in the craft aisle at Walmart. I just went ahead and grabbed this gray embroidery floss and I'm just winding it around my 3 fingers several times to create the thickness of a tassel, and I just kind of pinched it together to see if it was the width that I would want my little tassel to be. Once I did that, I tied a knot in the middle and then I kind of wound it around itself. After I was done winding it, I cut the end furthest away from my fingers. Next, I used my scissors to gently hold and slip through the single piece of thread to create my long piece for my tassel to hang from. I ended up doing this part twice to give myself enough material to create a braid. Now that I have my 4 pieces, I'm going to use the 2 in the center and then 1 on either side so that I can braid the little tassel, the little strings together. And I'm just going to braid it all the way down. Once you finish your tassel, grab your gnome and hat and try to measure and see if you like the placement. Once you decide on the placement, you're going to want to hot glue your little tassel onto your cap, and then I like to add a button on top, so I'm doing that here. After I have the tassel glued down, I trim off the excess and I again check the placement of the tassel. I check the pieces. I noticed on this that there were a few little stragglers, so I'm just snipping it off more of a straight edge so it'll have a clean look. Now I like to add a little embellishment, and you can get the tassel keychain at the Dollar Tree, but I'm going to just use this confetti, the graduation confetti. These are 2020, and I'm just going to hot glue it right onto the tassel. Next, you'll want to grab your little 2x4 piece of white fleece felt material, and roll it up. And then I like to add a little glue dot just to help hold it in place. And then you can see I'm adding a clothespin as well. Once I've got that done, I'm going to take my ribbon, whatever color you want to coordinate. I'm using black, and this is just a little skinny ribbon. And then I'm just going to tie a little bow, trim it off, and then we'll glue it to his hand. Once you finish adding the diploma to his hand, go ahead and grab the cap and add it back as well. Once you like the placement, take the hat back off briefly and apply hot glue, or you can leave this loose. Once you've done that, you're finished and you have your cute little graduation gnome. Thanks so much for watching my tutorial on how to make a graduation gnome. If you liked it, give me a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more tutorials on gnomes and other crafts. Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.